Come on, please. Hugo Brian Porter is with the Lighthouse. He's the associate pastor. I always try to have him come in December because they also do our live nativity. So get a little marketing plug for anybody who might be watching at home to remind you that we do have that live nativity at the historic courthouse all the week of Christmas Eve, correct?
We start on the 18th, just because we wanted to support the Thursday evening downtown activities. So we do the 18th, 19th, and 20th. We'll miss the 21st. Then we do the 22nd and 23rd.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. You want to take the floor?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the council, a good evening.
Good evening.
And to all. Lord, let your glory once more shine around us, even as it was heralded by those shepherds living out in the fields. Tonight, we pray for the health and well-being of all who live in and call this beautiful city of Monroe their home. Just as you found a natural home in the city of David, and just as your birth came with the declared promise to be our Messiah and our Lord, tonight we celebrate your birth, that it brought us good news, and that because of your birth, your people can be filled with joy, and we as a community can still praise you in saying, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to those whom your favor rests. We pray that your favor rests on our mayor and all the members of the city council. We pray your favor on our chiefs of police and fire services and all the men and women who keep us safe. We pray for all those who administer and see to the efficient works of the city. We pray that they serve as unto the Lord, that they serve with wisdom, compassion, and justice, so that the community of Monroe will grow in health and stature to truly reflect your glory and bring joy to the world. For our community at large and all those gathered in this room, we acknowledge that in you we live and move and have our being, that our dependence is on you, dear God, that you are the fountain and source of life, and that we experience the fullness of life and health through a relationship with God in his Son, Jesus Christ. So, receive the earnest prayers of our hearts this evening. We thank you that your divine order and protection be with each and all of us as we celebrate this glorious Christmas season. I speak a pastoral blessing on all those gathered in this assembly as we declare from our hearts and with our lips, joy to the world. The Lord has come. Merry Christmas.
Amen. Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next week. Call this meeting to order. Let the record reflect, please, that all members of council are present. Well, actually, let's just say we have a quorum. All members are present with the exception of Ms. Malcolm, Mr. Boyce, and Ms. Crawford. Thank you. I need a motion, please, for the approval of the agenda.
I'll move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, and I think I heard a second from Ms. Sams. Before moving to a vote, do we have executive session tonight?
No, sir, no need.
Okay, so may I just say that with an amendment? That the agenda is approved, and we will not have an executive session tonight. I need, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. The consent agenda this month is from October minutes of the Downtown Development Authority and Convention and Visitors Bureau, along with the Planning Commission minutes and the Historic Preservation Committee minutes, along with November meetings of the fiscal year budget meeting and the City Council of November. I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Next, moving to public comment. Ms. Green? Ms. Green owns Olive Branch Antiques and has had a traffic issue.
Yes. I'm not a great public speaker, I apologize.
You'll be fine.
I'll just read what I have. So, good evening, my name is Nicole Green, and I'm the owner of Olive Branch Antiques and Home Decor over on Broad Street. I want to address the council this evening about loading and unloading trucks. For at least the past 30 years, we have been able to load and unload in the middle of the street. And I do know that for a fact, as my grandparents owned stores here in town, and we have loaded and unloaded in the middle of Broad Street. Now, this does not include the turning lanes. So down Broad Street, there are 2 solid yellow lines. That's where we load and unload. Right past that, there's a dotted line that goes, there's the egress into the turning lane so that you can turn left or right, depending on what end of the road that you're on. On July 19th, we were approached by an officer, a traffic officer that we have never met before, who said that he was told to give us tickets for loading and unloading in the center lane between the yellow lines. At that time, I sent a text to Mayor Howard and asked if he said he did not know anything about this and that he would speak to the chief of police and get back with me. On July 25th, the mayor texted me back and said, and I quote, "All is good on short-term center lane delivery. We'll try to find the code," and he sent that code, which was section 9449, subsection C. And that code states that it shall be unlawful to park any vehicle on Broad Street for the purpose of loading or unloading for more than 30 minutes. Fast forward to October 25th, we were once again approached by the same officer, who at this time wrote us a ticket for loading and unloading. I spoke with him and told him that the mayor had spoke with the chief and that according to section 9449 subsection C, we were allowed to unload, and he said that he was still issuing the ticket. So my question this evening is, what are we supposed to do? We've actually spoke with another officer here in town, and he said there's actually multiple ordinances on this, but they all contradict themselves. So one basically says they can give a ticket, one says they can't. So what do? I have court on the 18th of this month for that ticket. With our business, the type of business that we have, I'm not sure who has or hasn't been into the store, but especially on the main floor, we have cabinets that are in excess of 400 pounds. If I were to go down those steps and somebody were to fall, somebody could potentially die. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that, but it could cause serious injury carrying those items up and down those stairs. So we're asking that you guys uphold the ordinance that we were given and allow us to be able to load and unload our vehicles. Like I said, we're never out there more than just a few minutes. Just take something in, take something out. We always wait for the red lights to cross the street. We don't cross before. We're very aware of what's going on. And people in town know us. Our customers say, "I saw y'all loading and unloading the other day." And they know, they make sure they're watching for us and we're watching for them because we don't want anybody hurt. But we're just asking, what do we do? Because if we don't have this access, there is a potential that we will close our business because we have to be able to move this furniture in and out of our building in a safe way, and we can't go up and down the stairs with those items.
Right.
That's all we're asking.
All right, well, thank you for coming in, and you will not get a reply right tonight,
Oh,
but
yes.
we will, the chief and the city administrator and I will talk about it, and I'll get an official final answer and something in writing that if somebody were to come in, you could have it in your hands.
Absolutely. Now, is this something that should I come back to the next city?
No, ma'am, I'll just come to you.
You come to me? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for coming in. Moving to business items, city administrator report, Logan.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a whole lot of other stuff to cover tonight. We always have tons and tons of projects and fun going on in the background. A lot of them take a lot of time, so I don't want to keep updating on the same things. If you'll notice, we do have that new agenda format. It's our second month using it. We're still working out a few kinks here and there, so I hope you're all finding it pretty useful. We're eventually going to try to see if we can work out the hyperlink similar to the old system, so it's a little easier to get through. But nevertheless, this is kind of what we were rushed into getting into. But we're trying to keep it streamlined, trying to keep it rolling. And if y'all have any commentary on the flow of the agenda, just let us know. And Laura will work with us as well to make it happen.
Are there any questions for Mr. Probst? I'll tell you this, Logan and I sat down this morning for 15 or 20 minutes, and there is a ton going on, but it's all a ton of things that we're going to be hearing about mainly over the next, coming months. So although it was a short administrative report, he's not doing anything.
A lot of the stuff will be later in the agenda too that we're working on here.
Next, we did have, Chris Bailey was elected to the board for the Georgia Airport Association. And we can all congratulate him at the same time we're asking for his report. Mr. Bailey?
Cool, well, thank you. A couple of quick things. Logan mentioned projects. Y'all can obviously see what's going on outside with the TAP grant. It's a 540-day project. I'm happy to report we're now under 500 days. So on the completion of that, that's about the best news I've got on that particular project. Between Jeremiah, Rodney, Logan, myself, Tommy, others, we're keeping an eye on things, having to coordinate different utilities, things that we're working on to keep everything kind of flowing along as quickly as possible. The alleyway that is off of North Lumpkin, they paved the last little portion this morning, which was the parking lot. So that project outside of striping the parking lot is complete. That was all hands on deck with Mike, Rodney, Jeremiah, everything that we had. I mean, it was stormwater, gas, water, electric, telecom, and, partridge in a pear tree considering the season. The other thing I was going to hit on, our Bike Strikes and Magical Lights Parade that started November 20th. Opening night, we had 1,400 people come through over a 2.5, 3 hour period. And to date, we have had 9.1 thousand come through. So 9,100 people have went through the park. Our Christmas parade, which I did a little bit of homework this morning. To actually put that event on, it takes a lot of manpower. We had 11 volunteers. We gave out 7,000 stuffed animals, snowballs, different things like that to the crowd this year. It actually got us almost to the end this year. So we're getting better. And we had about 20 walkers. The majority were here from City Hall. But employee-wise, it took us 125 employees to pull that off. So that's almost half of our entire staff. So just know that. But the good news of that is there were a little over 25,000 people in town on Thursday evening. So quite the number that we had show up for this year's Christmas parade. Had a bit of an incident that was situated and solved fairly quickly by the police department. So I'm glad it wasn't anything worse. So just kind of the nature of the beast sometimes, and if anybody has any questions, I will be glad to take them.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey?
But overall, a good event, always.
Thank you, Chris, and just the whole team. I sent something out, email, I think yesterday. It is every single time. At least as long as I've lived here, they've just been knocking out of the park every single event.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of moving parts, but everybody works well together and pulls off a great event every time.
I know it's a lot of work. I appreciate it. Moving to new business, we have a public hearing for fiscal year 2026 operating and capital budget. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing for any input on the 2026 operating and capital budget. As we all met last month, the citywide operating budget for 2026 is $86,145,012. This is a very modest overall increase of only 2% over the current year's budget. Of the major funds of the city for 2026, the general fund budget accounts for $19,837,329, which is a 2.7% increase. The combined utility fund budget for 2026 is $51,988,293, which is a 3% increase over the current year. And the solid waste fund budget is $9,454,722, which is about a 5% increase over the current budget. The revised utility and solid waste rates are presented in detail within the budget document submitted for consideration and approval. These new rates will take effect with utility bills due in February of 2026. The citywide capital budget for 2026 is $13,889,936,000, as detailed in the capital improvement portion of the budget document. This is a 20.67% decrease from the current year's capital budget. The capital budget is funded by SPLOST funds, grant funds, GFA loans, utility capital reserves, solid waste capital reserves, and the general fund. That is for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Hearing those numbers, we'll move into the public hearing. I'll declare this portion of the meeting open for the purpose of public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the budget as presented? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the budget as presented? Hearing none, I'll declare that portion of the meeting closed, and we will revisit almost immediately. Moving to new business. Beth, same thing. Fiscal year 2026 operating and capital budget. Is there any discussion from council? Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adopt the budget as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Mr. Probst, heavy truck ordinance?
Yes, the moment we've all been waiting for, right? So the bypass is open, and so now what do we do with it? Now we have to pass an ordinance so that we can enforce the heavy trucks in and through downtown. And what we did was kind of expand it a little bit, since we get a lot of traffic, not only on SR 11 Broad Street, but also East and West Spring Street and North and South Madison. So we've included those two streets into this ordinance. And I'll let Paul get into it a little bit more. He did a lot of heavy lifting on this draft, but we have, Jeremiah and myself, we've gone through and studied it intently and put a lot of the rationale and the whys of why we need this ordinance so that it upholds according to all the state laws and, of course, to GDOT specs as well.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, but Logan's summed it up pretty well. This ordinance will prohibit what we all think of as heavy truck traffic, which are defined as vehicles greater than 26,000 gross vehicle weight, greater than 8 wheels, and greater than 45 feet in length, from being on basically Broad Street from the city limits at the south, right around the old jail, up to Highway 78 intersection, on Spring Street from the 138 intersection all the way back to 78 on the east side, and anywhere on North or South Madison inside the city limits. Those are primarily the routes that we see trucks taking that they shouldn't be taking. There is an ordinance already from many, many moons ago related to Church Street. We didn't drop that in there on this one, but we certainly, we may combine those at some point in the future. But once the signage is up, then enforcement can begin. City staff will get with traffic enforcement with the chief and crew and sort of talk through how that enforcement will look and how that'll onboard. Obviously, there'll need to be a little bit of a learning curve opportunity for some warnings to be written for folks to kind of figure it out. I've personally kind of hit the roundabout a few times just to see how the trucks are doing with it, and they still just keep driving straight through to the north. Even with some marquee signs that the city has put up on a temporary basis. So once we get it all signaged up, then we'll be able to start enforcement. So enforcement can't start after y'all pass this. It can start after we properly signaged it, which will probably take a few weeks with staff. So, speaking out of turn, unless Logan says otherwise, I would suspect sometime around the 1st of January, we'll have all the appropriate signage up, maybe sooner, and then enforcement can start from there. But it is a local ordinance, which we're authorized to do under Georgia law to regulate our streets that are, it's the state street, but allows us to regulate it since it's in our jurisdiction. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Paul or Logan? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the procurement policy, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. This is an update to the procurement policy that is in reaction essentially to the House Bill 137 that was passed by the governor and the state here back during the summer. And it's essentially increasing sealed bidding amounts for public works projects from 100,000 to 250,000. It's been before the state a couple of different times over the past few years, and it finally passed and has become state procurement policy. So there are a couple of sections that it updates within our policy. Section 3A, it just changes the bidding amounts, verbal quotations, written quotations that are required. There is a typo on number 3 that spells out the number 3, but it has 2 in parentheses. We will change that to spelling out number 2. And then moves over, covers section D where it jumps into state and national contract purchases, moving that number to the $250,000 number for any state and national contracts that we are members of or that we use for larger purchases, but we will also allow state law to govern that should there be any nuances that apply to anything. And then the standing approvals, added a couple of items to that. I think that was originally put in the policy in 2019, to the best of my memory, which was pre-COVID basis. And it's adding some things that are essentially standard to our operations, such as repair, maintenance of transformers, pumps that would be at water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant, any utility pipe that we purchase, water, sewer, natural gas, stormwater, utility wire and cable, meters that we require for service, be it water meters, gas meters, electric. Typically, that's going to be the water meters because they cost more. We removed the not to exceed 25,000 on the transformers for electric because it's getting to the point that that only takes a couple of transformers and you're all of a sudden over 25,000. So unless it's grouped in a capital purchase or a project, it's something that has to come before council just to replenish stock that we're using for certain areas. And then the other thing, I know Danny, about every 18 months, give or take, 12 months, we bring the solid state loader tires to council because they are anywhere from 25 to 30,000, give or take. And then any utility poles that we purchase, be them wooden, concrete, or ductile iron. And like I say, it's based on cost, lead times, and it's just kind of adding. And they would obviously have to be pre-approved in budget or in capital projects. So it's not something that we would just then create out of thin air and just go buy. So it would be something that's already budgeted and approved from a capital standpoint. And I'll be glad to take any questions. But it's essentially just updating to follow House Bill 137's approval.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey? I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to stormwater policy adoption. Mr. Bailey, back to you.
And thank you for the previous. This one is something that we've talked about for the previous at least 2 years because we were essentially kind of put into that potential of being placed in an MS4 level stormwater community municipality to where we're governed more heavily by the state. We've done the fee structure, the policy study, so many different things, capital project planning. We do know that as of now, we are not in the 2027 designation for MS4, but we currently still operate, I would say 90% roughly of if we were. The only thing we lack is, the fee structure, the staffing, the different capital projects that you would have in place that would be funded by said fee. This policy is been kind of heavily vetted by Staff, I also have my technical expert here, Jenny Olivo with Keckenwood, who did 90% of the heavy lifting. The attorneys have reviewed it. And essentially, this policy that's in place, it's 6 pages, matches the majority of the surrounding municipalities throughout the state. It also follows closely with what Walton County has in place currently. And it's kind of that first step of adopting of the overall plan of creating a stormwater utility, which we will track forward as the state kind of dictates things and as the need arises for us to adopt a fee, therefore to fund the utility on its own. And essentially, the wording and everything that's in there just puts practice kind of into policy. So it's something that we can follow in-house. It standardizes things. It's also something that we can place out there that, you know, citizens, whatnot, they have access to as well. So it just kind of puts words into writing. And I'll be glad to take any questions. If they're really technical questions, Ms. Olivio will help me out there.
And she is a graduate of the University of Florida, so you know she's right.
Yeah, don't hold that
Are there,
against her.
are there any questions for Mr. Bailey?
Mr. Mayor, if we adopt this policy, does that mean we start with the fee schedule? And
No.
start collecting fees?
We do not.
That's down the
Yes.
road. Okay.
This is simply just our maintenance policy to follow. We will continue to monitor kind of where the state tracks with us and take a look at things further, discuss before we implement any type of fee.
Just want a clarification.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Jenny, thank
Thank
you
you.
for your help. And Nicole, thank you for coming as well. Y'all don't have to sit here the rest of the time, so I know it's exciting, but just, you know, don't feel obligated. Moving to the 2026 LMIG program, Mr. Still?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What you have before you is a recommendation for the allotted funds for the 26 LMIG program. I'll go over it briefly. The streets it's going to cover are Union Street, North Hammond Drive, 8th Street, Red Oak Court, Oakwood Lane, White Oak Drive, Cloverdale Drive, and Arcadia Court. All of those will get milled, deep patched, overlaid, and the through streets will get striping. We're getting 235, 242 from the state, our part of the match, 70,500 and some change for a total of 305, 814.80. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Are there any questions for Mr. Still? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the MOU with Walton County, a joint funding agreement for the Northern Arc Bypass Project. Mr. Probst?
All right, thank you, Mayor. So I don't have anything in your packet in front of you. This is kind of going to have to be a verbal consent for staff and legal to go and march forward with an MOU with Walton County for Northern Arc Bypass. We've talked about for a long time an extension of the bypass. The original route, I think that was drawn up in 2010 and just kind of disappeared, more or less the original route. To extend it back out a little further to meet up north of Highway 11, just north of the city limits. We're trying to revisit that with Walton County. It's a very specific, important joint project. And what we're trying to do, the mayor was with us as well. We met with the county manager and chairman, was create some skin in the game for GDOT. That's what we keep hearing every time we go down there. They want to see some cash in hand, or by the time we get to this project, should it be programmed. So we're trying to come up with $5 million each, and we should be able to do that with various funding sources, especially by the time a project like this gets programmed, utilizing SPLOST primarily to get us there. So the county's going to come up with $5 million. We'll come up with $5 million. The overall project is anticipated to be $74 million at this time. And so what we're going to do is ask the state to help give us some direct appropriation funding. That's what we're going after. We're going to shoot our shot at it and go from there. Otherwise, we're going to have to get into another one of those 20-year cycles to see if a bypass extension will ever prove fruitful. So we're just going to go a little bit more aggressively for it. And like I said, it should tell a lot to the state that the city and the county find so much value in this that we're coming together to do an MOU. So as for the specifics, Chip Ferguson, County Attorney, is going to be reaching out to Paul on their draft MOU that they have approved last week on December 2nd. So that's already done, and we'll just, if you authorize it, we'll vet it with those terms and conditions I've kind of noted and move on from there. And again, there's no obligation for any of this money if the project doesn't come to pass.
Are there any questions for Logan? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Gregory. And is there any additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Thank you, everybody. I think that's a good start for moving this project along. Moving to the joint funding agreement for professional services, Mr. Probst.
All right, this goes along with it. So in order to get in front of everybody down at the General Assembly this session, we're going to jointly go in with Walton County on a professional services agreement to find somebody who can be there far more than we can. It's going to take somebody to be there every day to state our case as to the importance of this. And we have tons of information that they can use. But this is a joint services agreement with Holland and Knight. And the county has already approved it for a 6-month period. What's presented here says 12 months. We're going to go ahead and do a strike through, and I think the county's already done a strike through to do a 6-month term. And we're going to basically approve a 50% cost share on this. That'll be $4,250 a month for that 6-month term.
Is there any discussion or any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. And a second? Thank you, Mr. Gregory. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Thank you. Bond arbitrage rebate, Logan.
All right, so sometimes you're victims of your own success here. So if you remember back in 2020, when we borrowed the $50 million for all of our utility projects, we borrowed it at a really low interest rate, around 2%. While we were setting up all of those projects, we put it into some investment funds, and we were doing well on it. Unfortunately, we started doing too well as those interest rates rapidly rose, if you remember, in 22, 23, and 24. So what we had to do was pivot as quickly as we could while also trying to balance the drawdown of the projects and try to thread the needle so that we wouldn't enter what's called arbitrage, where we made too much money that then becomes taxable to the IRS. The county went through something very similar too, and I think they wrote a much larger check than we're going to have to write. But essentially, we're going to have to, it's right here in front of you on a handout because we got it late. We're going to have to pay $218,837.71, and we're seeking your permission to do that on the Form 8038T that Ms. Thompson has already prepared, and I just need your blessing on that. The good news is, by doing what we did and putting it into these select investment funds, is we made nearly $1 million. Above and beyond that, that is not taxable. So we, I'll take giving up $218,000 to make another $1 million.
Yeah. Let's do twice that. Are there any questions, any comments, any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to River Point Phase 2 Final Plat. Before I refer to Brad, if you haven't been out to River Point, it's going to be beautiful. They just went under contract with their first home. Brad will be able to tell you all the numbers, but do, make a ride out there if you have time over the next few days. Mr. Callender?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a second phase of the River Point project. This is a total of 4 phases that are proposed for the project. If you recall, it's 200 acres total, and this phase is only 24 acres. This constitutes the property near the front of the site with the other 2 entrances, and you can get a better snapshot here. Total of 53 lots in this phase, and this includes the final 2 entrances. There are a total of 3 in the entire project from Double Springs Church and Cedar Ridge Road. And this one includes 2 entrances there on Cedar Ridge and 1 off Double Springs Church Road for those 53 lots. They've complied with everything required technically in your development regulations for approval for the final plat. They've met all the requirements and submitted all the required documents and paid all the right fees. And the recommendation is approval of the final plat as presented without corrections.
Thank you, Mr. Callender. Are there any questions for Brad? I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the adoption of the 2026 council meeting schedule. Mr. Probst.
So we have the standard 2026 meeting schedule. Again, we're doing the second Tuesday of every month. But as we discussed back in our budget retreat, I want everybody to kind of pencil in the first Tuesday of every month, just in case we need to reserve it for special called committee meetings or just work sessions. So as we go through the year, but otherwise, pretty standard calendar for the year.
Thank you. Are there any questions or any discussion? I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Brown. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to district reports, we will go to Ms. Sams.
Nothing, just another great Christmas parade. Thank you, Chief, for your folks, both chiefs, because I saw all of them scrambling. Glad that everything turned out well. It was another great night in downtown Monroe.
Thank you. Ms. Brown.
Have 2 events that are coming up for the holiday. So Shepherd's House is having a holiday toy giveaway on Sunday, December the 21st from 2 to 4, and that's at 710 Harris Street. And the Tuscan Community Services is also doing a Christmas giveaway, and that'll be on that Monday, December the 22nd at 2 p.m., and that's at 623 Maple Street. So those are 2 activities that are going on. Thank you to everyone that keeps this city running. I really appreciate it. And happy holidays to everybody. Be safe, make good choices.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Gregory.
Just like to say that I was blowing some leaves this weekend, which I finally got to, and the next day, the leaves were gone. Wow. What a job. Amazing. Amazing. I'm sure that's...
They just waited for
Yeah,
you.
they were just around the corner. So just can't believe how that worked out. I was like, I wonder how long these are going to... Okay. Anyway, so just thanks, as always, for all the hard work you guys do. Obviously, the Christmas parade was awesome. Thankful for that. And then some limbs got removed, so thankful for that also along our roadways in District 6. And we'll let you know if anything else happens. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Tyler, you're not supposed to blow the leaves on your neighbor's yard.
Oh. I thought they were getting really upset.
No, great job, guys. But anyway, I just want to say 2025 was a good year for the city. I think the council had a good year. I think we made a lot of good decisions and continue to make good decisions and got great staff that leads us in the best direction that we can be in. I'm looking forward to 2026, working with everybody and just seeing where it leads. So hats off to everybody, council and staff, and everybody that's employed by the city of Monroe.
Thank you, Greg. Mr. Dickinson.
I think Mr. Thompson said it quite well. So beyond that, the only thing I want to say is, order has now been restored to the universe. The junkyard dogs are back. And, Mr. Mayor, maybe someday that school you went to down there south of the border, maybe they'll be able to play in the championship game
You
again.
mean again?
Is there still a school down there?
Apparently so, yeah.
Somebody's got to be able to read. Remember when we only had to, I remember when we used to only have to count to one. Apparently, that's not the case anymore. But yes, congratulations to your Bulldogs. And it's been a rough little bit for me. Anyway, Greg, want to appreciate you. You and Logan and I were at MEAG Mayor's Summit a couple of weeks ago, and the general discussion, and you've heard about it over and over and over, are these data centers that are looking at all of our areas. MEAG does have a moratorium on, they're doing some studying on how that's going to impact our communities. We also talked about electric vehicle charging station, how that's been impactful in other communities. But keep your eyes open on data centers. There's a lot of good, and there's some challenges as well. So nothing imminent, nothing immediate here, but it's going to be something that's going to be a challenge. Chris Bailey was elected. I told you that. I told you Georgia won. I'll take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Merry Christmas.